welcome to all. Moving ahead in the chapter series, we are on the chapter number 9, some application of trigonometry. In the previous chapter, we have learned the concept of t ratios, the trigonometric ratios, and the six ratios we are getting there. Then the relation between the sides we are getting in the last chapter, and by using that concept, we are able to get the height and distance, and for this reason this chapter is well known as height and distance chapter. Then trigonometry can be used in many ways in the things around us, like we can use it for calculating the height and distance of some object without calculating them actually. If we have to observe the height of a building around surrounded you around us, and height of a tower, height of a statue, if you want to find your own height, then at home also we are able to do it by using a concept of calorimeter. Some projects we have made in the schools also. What we have in this height and distance, to find the height of an object or to find the distance of an object, we must go through some points. Then let us start these points. Then the first one we are getting as the line of sight. What do you mean by line of sight? If you are observing here, when we observe looks from a point E, that is I, at an object O, then the straight line EO between the I and the object is called the line of sight. Horizontal line we are getting. When an observer looks from a point, means I, to another point Q, which is horizontal to E, then the straight line EQ from E to Q is called the horizontal line. Line of sight, we are familiar about line of sight, the horizontal line. Then we are getting the next point as the angle of elevation. When the eye is below the object, it means that observer is down and he observes some object which is at some height. Then the observer has to look up from the point E to the object O. The measure of this rotation from the horizontal line is called the angle of elevation. When the observer looks from down to up, then we are getting angle of elevation. Here if you are observing, here is the observer eye, this point, and here is the object, and the angle we are getting between the line of sight and the horizontal line, and that angle we are calling as angle of elevation. Here if you are observing one more diagram, from the observer eye we have to draw two lines, one slightly to the top of the object and one we are observing here as the horizontal line. Then in between these two we are getting angle of elevation. And when the eye is above the object, then the observer has to look down from the point I, from I to the object, from the point E to the object. Then the horizontal line is now parallel to the ground. The measure of this rotation from the horizontal line is called the angle of depression. Angle of depression we have when we are looking from top to bottom. If the observer is on the top and the object is on the bottom, then the angle formed, we are calling that angle as angle of depression. If you are observing in the diagram, here on the top we have the observer, then here we are drawing a horizontal line which is parallel to the surface, and this is the line of sight. Then the angle formed is called angle of depression. This is more clear from this diagram. observer is on the roof and he observed the ball, and this is the line of sight, and this one is the horizontal line, and this we are getting as angle of depression. When we are solving these questions, then we have to draw the rough diagram for these also, for each and every question, and for drawing the rough diagram we are getting 1 marks. It means that that diagram should be important. We are getting statement problem, and by reading that statement problem we have to get the concept of which concept we have to use, then that is generated from the diagram. Then figure is must for these questions, having 1 marks in the examination if the question is of 4 marks. Then when we are solving, then we have to choose a trigonometric ratio in such a way that it consider the known side and the side that you wish to calculate. We have the concept of t ratios, and if the concept of t ratios we have, then the t ratios, which t ratio we have to use in the question, then according to the question, if the sides are given, then the relation we have to use, suppose perpendicular is given and base we have to find, then we are using the relation tan theta. If perpendicular is given, hypotenuse we have to find, then we are going to use the t ratio sin theta. Same, if base is given, hypotenuse we have to find, then we are going to find the ratio cos theta. Angle is already given. Then second point you have to remember, the eye is always considered at ground level unless the problem specifically gives the height of the observer. This you have to use by when we are making diagram, then the concept we have to use this. You have to remember the eye is always considered at ground level. But if the height of the object is given, then that we have to mention in the diagram, then that question should be changed. All these things we are going to discuss in this presentation. Then these relations we know, sin theta is perpendicular upon hypotenuse, cos theta is base upon hypotenuse, tan theta is perpendicular upon base. If you want to learn these relation, then if you are observing here, some people have curly black hair turning permanent black, and then we are using the first letter of these. Then on the base of these, let us solve some question. Here I am taking a question. Find the height of the flagpole if the angle of elevation is 30 degree. If angle of elevation is given, it means that observer is at the bottom and he observed the top. And the distance of flag from the observer is 15 meter. Flagpole. Then here if you are observing in the diagram, then this angle is given 30 degree and he observed the top of the flagpole, and the flagpole is at a distance of 15 meter. And what we have to find? We have to find the height of the flagpole. Then here I am taking the height as x, and if you are observing, we are getting a right angle triangle here. Then in this right angle triangle, if 30 degree is given, it means that yes, this is perpendicular and this is base, means we have to use the t ratios, and that is tan theta. Then let x be the height of the flagpole. When the question is of 4 marks, then you have to explain the diagram in the statement, and you are getting half marks for writing the statement about the diagram. The marks will be changed according to the type of question is given. 4 marks question we are getting most of the time in the examination, and sometime we are getting 1 marks question also, means 5 marks. Total 5 marks question would be asked in the examination on the basis of this chapter. Horizontal line is 15 meter. Now we have to calculate x, and we need to take the trigonometric ratio, then which include perpendicular and base. Then this we know, this is tan theta. And if you are using in this right triangle, then tan 30 degree is equal to perpendicular upon base, means x upon 15. Value of tan 30 we know, 1 upon root 3. This is equal to x upon 15. On cross multiplication we are getting x equal to 15 upon root 3. If you are putting the value of root 3 as 1.732, then we are getting the solution as 8.66. It means that the approximate height is 9 meter. This also you have to learn sometime when we are observing in the answer sheet of the exercise 9.1. Then the solutions are in square root. But what we know, if the irrational number you are getting in the denominator, we must rationalize that value. And if we are going to rationalize that value, then we are getting the solution of the question. One more question here, and the statement is given: a child was playing at the top of the hill. He had thrown a stone in the lake from the hill. The distance covered by the stone was 150 meter, and the angle of depression, because the child is on the top and he throw something on downward direction, it means that we are getting the angle of depression. What is the height of the hill? We are able to find the height of the hill. Then if you are observing, he is on the top of the hill, and from this point he throws something which is 150 meter, and angle of depression is given 30 degree, and the height of the hill we have to find. Then if you are observing, then this is perpendicular, this angle is 90 degree, it means that this value is hypotenuse, and the perpendicular and hypotenuse we are getting, it means that which t ratio we have to use? We have to use sine theta. Then let the height of the hill be h, the hypotenuse is 150 meter, and the angle of depression is 30 degree. Statement that you have to write it, then that is from the question you have to make. Then in the right triangle, if you are using the concept of sine 30 degree, then sine theta is perpendicular upon hypotenuse, h upon 150, and the value of sine 30 we know it is 1 upon 2. 1 upon 2 is equal to h upon 150. And on solving, we are getting the height of the hill as 75 meter. And at last also the statement you have to write the height of the hill, hence the height of the hill is 75 meter. For writing this last statement, you are getting half marks in the examination. Let us solve one more question. A person standing at a point A is looking up at the angle of elevation of 45 degree to the aeroplane, which is at the height of 100 meter. As the aeroplane is going upward, after some time the person was looking at an angle of 60 degree. Then what will be the increase in the height of the aeroplane from the ground when the angle becomes 60 degree? Then here we have the diagram. First, the aeroplane is at point C, and now after some time, and when the aeroplane is at point C, then the angle of elevation you are getting 45 degree, and when the aeroplane is at point D, then the angle of elevation you are getting as 60 degree. This height is given, and if you have to find the base, then how to find base? Then the perpendicular is given, base we are taking easily, we are getting base because 1045 is 1, and then we are using that base for finding the value of x. Then here we are getting the two right triangle. The first one we are getting as ABC, and the second one we are getting as ABD. And in these two right triangles, if you are using the concept of 1045 and 1060, and easily we are getting the solution of the question. and these angles are given 45 degree, 60 degree. Distance of the aeroplane from the ground we are getting x plus 100. First distance is given 100, and about that we are taking as x. Then the total distance from the ground we have x plus 100. Then if in the right triangle ABC, if you are using the concept of tan 45, then tan 45 degree is equal to BC upon AB, and the BC is 100. If you are putting the value of tan 45 as 1, then we are getting AB equal to BC equal to 100. In triangle ABD, if you are finding tan 60 degree, then tan 60 is perpendicular upon base, then we are getting BD upon AB, then tan 60 is root 3 BD upon 100, then BD we are getting as 100 root 3. And if you are, because AB we are getting from the first equation, and if you are putting the value of root 3, then 100 into that value, but we have to find BD, and if BD is given, we have to find x. The value of x means CD we have to find. BD is 100 root 3, BC is 100, x we are getting as the subtraction of these two, and if you are taking common 100, then you are getting 100 into root 3 minus 1. And if you want to find the value in decimal, then we are getting as 100 into root 3 minus 1, we are getting 0.732, and the solution we are getting as 73.2. And this is the increase of the height of the aeroplane. 100 into root 3 minus 1 means 73.2. Let us take one more question. A girl who is 1.2 meter tall is watching a balloon. In this question, the height of the object is given. In rest of the three questions, we are taking the point object because of I we are taking on the ground. But in this question, the height is given. And in moving in a horizontal line at a height of 88.2 meter from the ground, the angle of elevation from her eye is changed from 60 degree to 30 degree, and we have to calculate the distance traveled by the balloon. First is it is having the angle 60 degree, and now the angle is 30 degree, and if we have these, then if you are observing here, first the balloon is at this point, then the angle we are getting as 60 degree. Now the balloon is on the second position, and this distance we have to find, how much distance the balloon has traveled when the angle of elevation changed from 60 degree to 30 degree. Then if we are labeling the diagram, then what we are observing, height is given, then this height we are getting as 1.2 meter, and the first triangle you are getting as AEC, in right triangle AEC, and the second right triangle you are getting as BGC. Here the total height is given 88.2. Out of this we have to subtract 1.2 for getting the height BG when we are using in the question. Then here in right triangle, in the first right triangle ACE, if you are using the concept of tan theta perpendicular upon base, then tan 60 degree we are getting as AE upon CE, and AE is equal to AF minus EF, means 88.2 minus 1.2. Then easily we are getting the value of CE as 29 root 3 on solving. On rationalizing also, if you are subtracting these two, you are getting 81, then you are getting 81 upon root 3 as CE, and if you are rationalizing, then multiplying and dividing by root 3, and if you are multiplying and dividing 81 upon root 3 by root 3, then in the numerator you are getting 81 root 3 and in the denominator you are getting 3. Then these will get cancelled out and we are getting 29 root 3. Similarly, in the second triangle, if you are using tan theta, then tan 30 degree we are getting as BG upon CG. Again BG we are getting as the subtraction of these two, 82.2 minus 1.2 means 81 meter upon CG. Then if you are simplifying this, then CG we are getting as 81 root 3. This is mistaken here, 87 is written. It is 81 root 3. This is not 87, 81 root 3 we are getting. I think the value is mistaken. In place of 87, in each and every place we have to write 81. Then the distance traveled by the balloon, then we are getting EG as CG minus CE. And if we are subtracting that too, we are getting 58 root 3 meter. Then on the basis of this, all these questions, you have to solve the questions of exercise 9.1. And the next chapter we are going to start as triangle. The chapter 6. Sai Ram to all.